Hey, I'm going to let you in a little secret here. Not every real estate market in Canada is like Toronto right now. Hey there, and welcome back to 𝗲𝗶𝗱𝗁 Real Estate. My name is 𝗵𝗵𝗱, real estate agent in Regina, and that is my trusted assistant, Matilda. It would have been really easy for this month's Canadian real estate market update to say, Toronto market, still really bad. Calgary market, slowing right down, and leave the video at that. But of course, that's not what we do here on 𝗲𝗶𝗱𝗁 Real Estate. We're going coast to coast, covering 11 different major real estate markets, getting you up to speed on each and every one of those because they are very different right now, as they always are. And a few of these markets have continued to be really busy, with one overtaking Calgary as what I think is Canada's hottest real estate market now. But of course, let's start off with one of my terrible bad dad jokes. When I bought my brand new igloo, my friends threw me a housewarming party. Fortunately, now I'm homeless. Do you have a terrible joke I can use in a future episode? Put it in the comments below. Let's get into it. Similar to what we're seeing in Vancouver, it seems the Victoria real estate market kind of took a summer break here in August. Sales have remained essentially down 20% all year except for April, May, and June, where they were down, but not down by nearly as much. New listings spiked up in April and have trended down every single month since then, and now they're below that 5-year average, much like we saw with active inventory, which has been trending down since that early spring all year long, getting closer to the 5-year average. Home prices is what's interesting to watch in the Victoria real estate market because it is a government town and it is a retirement town. Both of those generally add a little stability to home prices. And we've seen now 4 months in a row, the home price index has essentially sat at $870,000 without much movement. But it's not immune to seasonality. We'll likely see that drop off here as we get closer to winter. In Vancouver, it seems both buyers and sellers took the month of August off. We saw sales well down, but also new listings trended back down below the 5-year average. And active inventory reversed a trend of seeing 6 months in a row of increasing inventory. That being said, that should have happened last month. The real story though in the Vancouver real estate market in my mind is a story of divergence. The single family home market has continued to stay quite strong, while the townhouse and condo market is not so much, and that's being reflected very much in prices. The citywide benchmark price dropped 1% year over year. Single family homes though saw nearly a 2% increase, while attached homes, so townhouses and those condos, saw about a 1% decrease. The Calgary real estate market has been shifting for the past couple of months. It's starting to slow down. The flood of Ontario buyers that were coming to Calgary has definitely slowed down. And it's interesting seeing in the news now that they've picked up on this theme. I talked about this in my weekly news recap, the BNN article saying that sales were down 20%, kind of implying things have really gotten cold in Calgary. What they don't mention in that article is that August 2023, because they're referring year over year numbers, I always go versus a 5-year average. August 2023 in Calgary, busiest August they've ever had by a mile, 2,700 homes sell. Do you know what was the second busiest August all time? August 2024, yeah, the month we just had. There also is a very obvious surge in new listings going on in Calgary. And no, it's not people getting out of Dodge. It is absolutely, or at least this is a factor in there, speculation. People are buying properties, hoping they'll continue to go up 10, 15, 20% year over year, and then trying to sell them. Or they're buying properties and trying to rent them out, not getting the rents they want, and they're putting them back up for sale. Real quick pause here. If you're thinking about buying a house in Regina, obviously I'd love to help you out. But if you're somewhere else in Canada, don't worry. I can get you set up with a perfect real estate agent that'll handpick for you. If you check out the description of this video, you're going to see a link to my calendar where you can book me in for an agent recommendation consultation. I'll give you a call, learn about what's important to you in a house, in a real estate agent, and I'll get you set up with that perfect agent in your market. And now let's get back to the video. Even with all of those new listings, active inventory, which has continued to close the gap on the 5-year average all year long, is still well below that 5-year average. Agents are telling me though that when they put houses up for sale, previously they were getting close to 20 showings per listing. Now they're only seeing about 15 showings per listing and far fewer multiple offers, but that is still happening. There's still a lot of competition amongst buyers. With the seasonality starting to play into things, we're seeing weather cool off in Calgary. The market typically does as well. More inventory, less demand. We're seeing prices cool off and expect that to continue all through the balance of the year. We saw the Edmonton real estate market set that home price record 2 months ago, and they're just slightly below that right now. But this past month, Edmonton set 2 more records. Most homes ever sold in August and most homes newly listed for sale in August. But they're not done breaking records yet. where they are right now, if they sell the same number of homes for the next couple of months as they did last year, and they've been beating last year's sales records every single month, they're going to smash the all-time record for most homes ever sold in Edmonton by over 10%. In fact, year to date, there have been more homes sold in Edmonton than all of 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 as individual years. It is crazy how many houses are selling right now in Edmonton. But Edmonton is not immune to seasonality. We've already started to see it. There was about 14% less homes sold this past month versus the previous month, and that trend will likely continue. As with home prices, we'll likely see that slip a little bit as the weather cools off. So don't be surprised if that happens. Regina is currently on pace to have likely its second busiest year ever for home sales. So far this year, we've only had 2 months where we didn't have more than 300 homes sell. Last year, 6 months they didn't have more than 300 homes sell. And 2021, which was the busiest year for home sales, 5 months didn't see more than 300 homes sell in the month. New listings trended up versus the 5-year average, but this is the time of year that we see the seasonal impacts of newer listings dropping off, and they will through the balance of the year most likely. That's what we've started to see happen. Active inventory is just barely creeping up, basically unchanged for 3 months in a row here. And the number of homes that are for sale right now, even still down, 45%. What is out there that's sitting around, for the most part, is pretty low quality and overpriced. I've had a lot of showings recently. Their prices were just, I think, ridiculous for what's out there, but I get it. The market's hot. They're trying to see if they can get those prices. The houses that are showing all priced well, seeing a ton of multiple offers. Had one the other day, they had 9 offers on it, sold well over asking price. Speaking of prices, we're seeing that composite benchmark price continue to trend up, and this is usually the time of year that we see home prices falling off a little bit in Regina. Despite having extremely low levels of inventory in Saskatoon, they're still seeing tons of sales. But on the flip side, that lack of inventory is also holding back the number of homes that likely would have been sold had they actually been available to be purchased. We've also seen inventory down by 50% or more for 8 consecutive months now in Saskatoon. Go to realtor.ca and just pull all the houses. Right now, 27% of all those sitting on the market are conditionally sold. And I think that is the even scarier number than inventory being down 51%. So you combine that with a 1.5 months of inventory and home prices being up nearly 10% since the start of the year. That is why I'm calling Saskatoon Canada's hottest real estate market right now. Winnipeg saw so many homes sold in 2020, 21, and 22. It really skews the 5-year average, making home sales, even though they're down, like I said, 8%, look worse than they actually are. This year, we've seen more homes sold in Winnipeg than last year, and by no means was 2023 a slow year. In fact, when you look at the sales to new listing ratio, it's at 76%, which is very strong, and it's the best it's been since 2021 when things were really crazy, and it was 79%. Speaking of new listings, that's been really interesting. While many cities have seen wild swings in new listings up and down, Winnipeg has been consistent at about 21,500 to 22,500 new listings throughout the year. And this year is looking, it might touch 23,000, but basically it's only been about a 5% difference from the lowest number of new listings to the highest number of new listings. Now, just recently, I was talking with an agent from Winnipeg about their inventory situation, which is starting to trend back down after seeing basically the last year and a half of slowly building back up, giving buyers more choice. And they were talking how it's still challenging to find home buyers a house right now, especially first-time home buyers in those more entry-level price points. And I said, hey, you should look at our market. We're down, 50% here in Regina, and it's been really challenging for first-time home buyers. And he said, yeah, I guess I better stop complaining. Things could be worse. It could be like where you guys are. And then, of course, he said you could also cheer for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And I got nothing to say on that right now. In their press release, the Toronto Real Estate Board talked about how now after another rate cut, that is going to get more first-time homebuyers off the fence, spurring on more sales. They also said the exact same thing after the last 2 rate cuts. And just like those that continue to say over and over again, the real estate market is just about to crash. Well, if you say it enough times in a row, eventually you're bound to be correct. But when it comes to sales, we're just not seeing that in the numbers right now in the Toronto real estate market. Home prices are what everybody wants to talk about in Toronto right now. And yes, month over month, home prices continue to decline as well as year over year. But it's interesting watching the pace of price decline because it's slower this year than it was last year. Last year we were seeing about $20,000 per month in a drop of that benchmark price. This year it's about $10,000 a month. So if you want to put it in perspective, month to month, April to May, we saw about a 1% drop. From May to June, we saw about a 0.6% drop. June to July, 1.1%. July to August, 0.7%. And then August into September here, 0.6% drop. If that trend were to continue, and of course that's a lot of ifs, we would see the Toronto real estate market end 2024 with home prices basically equal to where they ended 2023, unchanged. Now, I was ragging on RE/MAX recently about how they were forecasting prices would only be down about 2%, and I said I think it's gonna be closer to 6, 7, 8%. Well, if this trend continues, that forecast is actually going to look pretty good for RE/MAX. Looking at the Ottawa real estate market here, you're going to notice that these numbers have changed quite a bit. I actually had to go and phone the Ottawa real estate board to figure out what the heck was going on because my numbers were completely different than theirs. Well, it turns out they changed the way they collect their data. Before, it was any sale that happened from a Ottawa real estate board member was counted as an Ottawa sale, even if it didn't happen in Ottawa. Well, they changed that, and now it's only counting for sales that happen geographically in Ottawa. So I've gone back, redone all the charts, took me an entire afternoon to do so, and here's what we got. In their press release, the Ottawa Real Estate Board says this is a hot market heading into the fall. And well, when sales are down nearly 20%, I would disagree with that statement and say, well, okay, sales are up above where they were last year, which was a terrible year. Maybe we could call it rebounding. When it comes to new listings, you can see that for at least the last couple of months has been equal to or about what the 5-year average is. So no wave of sellers coming to the Ottawa real estate market just yet, at least. And when you look at active inventory, of course, that is way above my 5-year rolling average. But as I've said many times before, it is badly skewed by how low inventory was in that 2019, 20, 21, 22 range, really impacting the data there. If I cut those 5 years out and just look at the 5 previous years, this is more in line to actually slightly low for what you would expect in the Ottawa real estate market. We've seen with prices, basically flat here for a couple of months in a row. There's some seasonality that's going to start playing into this, probably dragging prices down a little bit as we finish up the year. So I wouldn't say this is a red hot year or a hot year in the Ottawa real estate market. I'd say, again, kind of a flat, stable, maybe rebounding type year. Talking with agents in Montreal, they've been telling me that the single family home market has been heating up as well as the Plex market, but the condo market continues to be fairly slow. They're also saying that stale listings, ones that hadn't been selling, all of a sudden have started to sell. So that had me ask the question, is Montreal potentially going to be the next hot real estate market like Calgary has been and Saskatoon has started to become? Let's take a look a little bit deeper here because I'm not so sure about that. The stats show a market that has been busier than last year, but last year wasn't exceptionally busy, still below that 5-year rolling average. And of course, that does include busier years like 21 and 22 and 2020 as well. But what I think is going on here is a Montreal real estate market that is doing well and will probably continue to be a stronger market than many of the ones you're going to see in Ontario going into next year. But I'm not really sure. I think you can say the jury's out whether we're going to see Montreal be the next Calgary or Saskatoon right now. Talking with Halifax real estate agents this past month, they gave me a couple of really interesting pieces of information. First off, when you look at the average sale to asking price ratio, that's 101% right now, with about 50% of houses selling under asking price and about 50% selling over asking price. The average over asking price amount was $27,000. They said that the lower price points, the first-time homebuyer segment, is where they're seeing the most overbidding happening right now. Now, I don't know if this is a Halifax thing or not. I'm going to have to ask about this next time I talk with my friends in Halifax, because it seems every time I chat with them, they always say the month starts off slow and then ends fairly strong. Maybe it's something you guys do it there, take the first couple of weeks off. Now, when you look at the stats all year long, sales and new listings have been down by about similar amounts. So this month, down 20% in both categories. And that is what's kept active inventory from really shooting up like we've seen in other cities, say like Toronto. Even though Halifax now finally has over 1,000 houses for sale, it's still well below kind of the long-term averages in Halifax, but much better than what it was a couple of years ago, when at one point I think they had something like 150 houses for sale, less than a week's worth of inventory. those are the crazy times. I hope we never get back to that in Halifax, because that was really challenging for home buyers. What do you think? Is Saskatoon the undisputed hottest real estate market in Canada right now? Or is Edmonton vying for that title as well? Let me know in the comments below, and then maybe check out this video right here. If you liked the video, give this video a like. And as always, thanks very much for watching.